You're brand new to Elden Ring. You have no idea what's going on. You heard this game won Game of the Year last year, and you're really curious about it. So I'm here to tell you exactly what you need to know, where you need to go, how you need to get there, and all the ins and outs of the game so you guys will not be lost or overwhelmed when you first enter Limgrave and see the massive world that Elden Ring has to offer. So let's get into it. The first trial you're going to find in Elden Ring is character selection. You are going to have multiple different characters to select. These different characters are going to allow you to use certain weapons right off the bat. They're also going to have different attributes, so you will be more equipped to do what that class does. For example, if you use the samurai, you will have dexterity as one of your primary stats and a katana. Or if you use the confessor, you will have a sword and a shield, but faith will be one of your primary attributes as well. You can go through every single one, see which one you want to use, see which playstyle fits you, and choose that class. Speaking of the stats of your character, let's go ahead and break those down before we even get into the game. So the first stat you're going to see is Vigor. Vigor is going to increase your HP, but it's also going to help you get fire resistance and immunity on your character to certain things within the game. So the more runes you put into Vigor, the higher your health pool is going to be, the more damage you can take. The next skill that's going to be up on our list is Mind. This is going to allow you to cast more spells, and it's going to allow you to use your skills more often. The Mind is the blue bar at the top left of your screen that is going to show how much energy you've consumed with spells and skills. The more Mind you put onto your character, the higher that pool will be, and the more skills and spells you can use. Our third skill on the list is Endurance. This is going to affect your equipment load. It is also going to affect your robustness and your stamina. The stamina is going to be your green bar. It's going to go down whenever you swing, whenever you cast, or whenever you roll. The more endurance that you have on your character, the more armor you can wear, the heavier weapons you can use, the longer you can roll and swing without having to recharge. Our fourth attribute you're going to see up there on the list is Strength. This attribute is required to wield heavy weapons, and it's also going to boost your attack power of weapons that have scaling in strength. So the more strength you have, the harder you're going to hit with those weapons, and you're going to be able to wield heavier objects. The next stat we're going to see up there is Intelligence. This is the stat that you're going to dump a ton of runes in if you're trying to use sorceries, which is casting in this game. It's going to raise your magic power of intelligence scaling spells, and every single sorcery that you use is going to scale in some way, shape, or form with intelligence. So the more you have here, the more damage you're going to do there. Our next stat we're going to see up there is Faith. Faith is going to allow you to use incantations, which are just the faith version of intelligence sorceries. These are going to do a ton of damage, and they are also a really cool way to play in this game. The more faith you have, the higher your damage with those incantations is going to be. There are also certain weapons that scale with faith, and you're also going to be using something called seals that are going to scale with faith as well. And the last stat that we're going to see up here on our list is Arcane. This is going to affect your item discovery. So how easy it is for you to find certain items in this game will directly be affected by Arcane. It's also going to help scale with certain weapons and with certain skills in making those skills do more damage. You'll also find it will affect certain sorceries and incantations. The next decision you're going to have to make is, what keepsake do you want? What are keepsakes? Keepsakes are small tools that you can start out with in the game that are going to help embellish your gameplay right off the bat. I would highly recommend the Golden Seed, as that's going to give you one extra charge of your tears, which are going to heal you, and it's going to give you more healing over time, so you don't have to continue to stop at grace sites to continue to get more healing. So now that your character creation is done and you know a little bit more about the stats, it's now time to arrive in Limgrave. The first thing you're going to do when you see Limgrave is be overwhelmed. There is so much here. It is gorgeous. It is beautiful. It is one of the best opening scenes in any game that I've ever seen. But after you've taken in all the glamour and wonder of this game, you're going to run into an NPC right away. He's dressed in white. Do not kill him. In fact, don't kill any of the NPCs that you see in this game, and I'm going to tell you why. NPCs have many different quest lines, many different items, and many different attributes that they can give you throughout this entire game, whether it be lore, whether it be an item, whether it be a weapon. It doesn't matter. NPCs are very important in this game, and one thing you need to always remember when you see an NPC is to exhaust their dialogue. That means to talk to them over and over again until they start repeating themselves, and that's going to signify that there's no more dialogue for them there, and you will find them somewhere else in the game to start talking to them again to repeat that process so that they can move about the game as you do, so they can eventually have quest lines completed, give you the items that you need from them, and so on and so forth. But where do you go? There's so many places to go in this game. How do you even get started started? What's the best route? All of those questions come up, and I'm going to tell you just the first 3 places you need to go so you can get started in Limgrave. The first area you need to go to is the church directly in front of you, the Church of Ella. You're going to want to rest at that grace site, and then you are going to move over to the Gatefront Grace, which is a little bit northeast of you, and that's where you are going to acquire Torrent. Torrent is going to be your mount in this game, and he is going to make things extraordinarily easy for you to get back and forth to and from wherever you need to go, because this game is massive and walking the entire game would take forever. And speaking of grace sites, what are they? How do they work? Grace sites in this game are a place of rest for you to sit down, level up, go through your attributes, figure out how you want to allocate your flasks, sometimes talk to NPCs. There are so many things you can do at your grace sites, but overall, they are just meant to save that location for you. So if you do die, you will spawn again at that grace so you can continue moving out your game. So now that you've gotten your first 3 grace sites and you have Torrent, there's a lot of combat to be had in this game. So let's talk about it. These are the things that I think you should know right off the bat, because some of them I didn't, and I really kicked myself for not knowing them afterwards. So the first thing is weapon types. There are so many different types of weapons in this game. There are weapons that scale with dexterity, strength, faith, intellect, you name it, there's a weapon that scales with it. You're going to find weapons all over the place. You're going to see the different scaling at the bottom of your screen whenever you open up that weapon. Those are the attributes that it takes to wield the weapon. Those are the stats that it takes to wield that weapon. And you can level up that weapon that you find using smithing stones. There are 2 separate smithing stones in this game. There are somber smithing stones, which are going to take care of boss weapons and leveling up your boss weapons. And there are just regular smithing stones that you can find that are going to level up your run-of-the-mill normal weapons that you find throughout Elden Ring. You can find these smithing stones scattered throughout the world, but the main place you're going to find smithing stones is in mine dungeons. Dungeons are little small mini boss areas throughout the entirety of Elden Ring where you can fight a challenge, and you can typically get boss weapons. You can get miner's bell bearings, which will give you the ability to buy smithing stones, and you can also find different smithing stones laying around within those mines as well. Normal weapons can be leveled up to plus 25 by the end of the game, and boss weapons can be leveled up to plus 10. Speaking of boss weapons and combat, you can attain runes from killing enemies within Elden Ring. NPCs will give you a smaller amount of runes, and bosses will give you a larger amount of runes. Runes are going to be what you level up with, just like in Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, where you use souls. Runes are pretty much Elden Ring's version of souls in this game. Another attribute of combat that I think you should be aware of is if you are blocking with a shield and your enemy hits you, you can immediately press the heavy attack button right after they hit you, and you can perform a guard counter. This is going to do an incredible amount of damage, and it's also going to typically stun your target, opening them up for more attacks from you. And one of the last things I want to talk about with combat is how the rolls work in this game. So your dodge or your roll is going to be affected by your endurance stat, which we mentioned in the beginning of the video. So you can do a fast roll with less equipment load, a medium roll with a medium load, or a heavy roll or fat roll with a heavy load. All these different rolls have different effects on your character. Typically, you want to stay away from the fat roll unless you just don't care. I personally go with a medium roll because that's what I feel like works best for my playstyle. Now, once you've been running around Limgrave for a while and killing enemies and grabbing grace sites, you can then go back to the Church of Ella, which if you'll remember is the second grace that you attained, and you can go back there at nighttime and find Ronnie the Witch. Ronnie is going to give you an item called the Spirit Caller Bell, and that's going to allow you to summon Spirit Ashes. What are Spirit Ashes? Spirit Ashes are spirits that can help you in the game, in boss fights, or in certain summonable areas within the game to make your gameplay easier. There are a whole lot of summons in this game. There's bound to be one that fits your playstyle and how you would like to play, so definitely look for these all over the place. They're definitely really worth it in the long run. And the last 2 things that I want to draw your attention to is the crafting kit, and the overall route and flow of the game. So, if you go back to the Church of Ella where Ronnie the Witch was, you can then find Kale the Merchant. Kale is going to sell you a few very key items that you're going to want to pick up, but the main one is the crafting kit. The crafting kit is going to allow you to craft a whole variety of different items, anything from flaming jars that you can throw at people, to blood arrows that you can shoot from a bow. There are so many different items in this game that you can craft by finding cookbooks all around the world of Elden Ring. I highly recommend you pick this up. It's going to change the way you play the game a lot of times based on what you can craft and what you can equip from your crafting materials. And last but certainly not least is just the overall flow of the game. You're obviously going to start out in Limgrave, but there are multiple areas attached to Limgrave that you can go in at any time. The beauty of Elden Ring is you could literally run as far as you possibly can in the game and then fight enemies there, but they would be super hard and you would die a lot. So the overarching flow of the game typically is Limgrave, Lakes of Liurnia, and then Caelid. Now, I won't give away anything else other than that, but I highly recommend you do all of Limgrave, then all of Liurnia of the Lakes, and then you go into Caelid. You can play this game however you would like, but that's just my 2 cents because that's worked the best for me, and it's allowed me to stay alive the longest while leveling up and being somewhat leveled for that area that I'm currently in. But guys, that is it for the survival guide for Elden Ring. If you are brand new to the game, first off, I'd like to just say welcome. Thank you so much for watching the video, and thank you so much for trying Elden Ring. It is my favorite game of all time, and I love making content for you guys about it. So if there's anything that I left out, please leave it in the comments below because this game is massive. There's so many things to it, and I'm sure I left something out that some new player is going to want to know. So start a conversation down in the comments. We'll get new people ready to go in this game and enjoying it as fast as humanly possible. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe on the video. It does help me out a ton, and it allows me to keep doing this for you guys. And until next time, guys, stay safe, enjoy the game, and I'll see you in the next one.